Hello dear students, welcome to the last section of our lecture on Chapter 7, Capacity and Level of Service of Highway Segments. So we will cover here the analysis of the level of service of two-lane highways. So at the end of this lesson, you will be able to determine the level of service of two-lane highways. So let's look at the characteristics of a two-lane highway. The picture here shows you a two-lane highway. So you can see that there's one travel lane in each direction, and typically two-lane highways are undivided. These are used for lower traffic volume situations. So generally, the free flow speeds range between 70 and 105 kilometers per hour. So these two-lane highway have a wide range of design standards, and sometimes you may have traffic signals or even stop control. And in order to pass a vehicle, when you have a two-lane highway, for example, this one wants to pass this vehicle, then this vehicle here has to use the other lane or the opposing lane, except for where passing lanes are provided. Now, if you have noticed a bold line in the middle, okay, later on we will see that there is what we call the no passing zone. So if this vehicle wants to overtake this, then the driver cannot do it because this is a no passing zone. But if this one is a broken line, then the vehicle here can pass and use this lane, but the driver should make sure that this lane is clear to avoid accidents. Okay, so for two-lane highway, unlike the procedures for freeways and multi-lane highways, both directions must be considered in the analysis of the level of service. So even if you're only interested in one direction, you have to analyze both directions because the opposing direction influences the passing opportunities of the vehicles, as I have mentioned a while ago. So the terrain can have a more significant effect due to restrictions on the passing sight distance. So for a two-lane highway, as you can see here, the service measures is dictated by the functional classification of a two-lane highway segment. So according to the Highway Capacity Manual, there are three classes defined for two-lane highways. And let's see this in the next slides. So we have Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. So what is the characteristic of Class 1? For Class 1 two-lane highway, motorists expect to travel at high speeds as well as avoid extended following of other vehicles. So usually the keyword here is intercity routes. So when you travel from one city to another, then the travel should be faster. For example, when you go to Alabang from Laguna, then you will be able to use the South Luzon Expressway. So you know, those of you who have been traveling via South Luzon Expressway, you can imagine what I'm telling you, that there are very few access points or entrance and exit points that makes the vehicles travel faster compared to the national road or provincial roads. Now let's look at a two-lane highway in Class 2. In this class, motorists do not necessarily expect to travel at high speeds. So the key word here is shortcuts. Who among you are driving here? Or who among you have experience using Waze when traveling from one place to another? Usually Waze, when I use it, I observe that it usually leads me to shortcuts. And these shortcuts can be smaller roads where you can go round and round. Shorter routes may pass through rugged terrain, for which travel speeds will generally be lower than Class 1 highways. So in these situations, motorists primarily want to avoid extended following of other vehicles. How about Class 3? In Class 3, you can see nice scenes here, right? So I hope that you have observed this in the pictures that you can see here on the right. Okay, because the key word for Class 3 is scenic routes or recreational routes. So when motorists use Class 3, they do not expect frequent passing opportunities or to travel at high speeds. Because when you are looking at nice sceneries while driving, then you have to slow down. So another example of this is if you have seen Ilocos, Pagudpud, there is a highway there similar to this. Another example is when you go to El Nido from Puerto Princesa, Palawan, you can see a highway that's similar to this. You can see the seaside and you ought to look at the nice scenery. So you have to slow down. If you are a driver who is really going through these routes, then you do not expect to travel at high speeds. Okay, so generally you have lower posted speeds in these Class 3 highways. And in these situations, motorists usually do not mind following other vehicles or traveling at low speeds. So let's move on to the procedures of determining the level of service of a two-lane highway. You can see that these four steps here are the same as that of the ones that we have completed for the freeway and for the multi-lane highway. Okay, but notice the differences as we go. Now you have to determine the base condition of your two-lane highway. The minimum lane width is 3.6 meters, the minimum shoulder width of 1.8 meters, and 0% no passing zones. It means that passing is allowed or this line is broken. Traffic stream consisting of passenger cars only, and there's no direct access points along the roadway. There's no impediments to through traffic due to traffic control or turning vehicles. And there's also the terrain with grades no greater than 2%. And according to the Highway Capacity Manual, the capacity for both directions combined is 3,200 passenger cars per hour. And for a single direction, the capacity is 1,700 passenger car per hour.